radio at all. Not even with the bombing plane that's coming over. All radio is dead.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
I'm going to make you one of the rising up.
Welcome to the Horror of the Worlds. I'm Stephen Miller.
And I don't have my notes with me. I think I'm Curtis Gerhardt.
And we're here to talk to you today about the werewolf myth and origin stories.
Can't wait for this one.
Yeah. So I had to do a bit of digging, and I had to go way back in time. We're talking like 2100, 1200 BC. And the first mentioning of a wolf, human turned into wolf form, is the Epic of Gilgamesh. This was written, it's an epic poem written from ancient Mesopotamian era. And it's written in the language Akkadian. And there is a character named Ishtar whom has a habit of casting away her lovers for a new one. And one of her former attachments, she decided to do away with by turning him into a wolf.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, that's fucked up. Get the fuck out of here. And that's the first time anybody's ever written about man-to-wolf form. And that's actually the oldest story that we can find written to date. So I think it's kind of cool that the first story ever written was about a wolf.
I'm kind of curious on what someone had to do to be that, like, to order that curse.
Well, you know, it seems like with the storyline, this chick was just sleeping around. She just got sick of him, and instead of having to deal with him coming up to her, she's just like, you're a wolf now. You can't speak to me. You know what I'm saying, but you can't communicate. Go away.
Was that everything, though? I'm kind of curious on, like, if that was where she left it, or if she still continued to have her way with the...
That's a good question, because a lot of this story isn't complete, because the way they were written out was like on stone. So we had to decipher an old language, and we only got parts of the story. So...
Makes sense.
Yeah, right? So it seems like this story is clearly more about gods and things like that. But this was the first time anybody had ever written about it. So it feels like for a long time, man-to-wolf form was mostly in dealing with the heavens, the gods, curses, things of that nature, until we get all the way up to common day. But I'm not going to touch it.
All right, no common day today.
Yeah. But after that, I found out there was an even... or maybe not older story, but just as old as time, is in Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, there was a man by the name of Lycaon, and he's the son of Pegasus, and a legendary king of Arcadia, who angered the god Zeus when he served him a meal made of human remains. This was supposed to be more like a sacrifice, more like we give this to you. This pissed him off. He's like, we created humans as a sacred being. We're not supposed to be fucking eating them, you asshole.
So it's kind of... Oh, yeah, no, never mind. Like, I think I was going to go somewhere with that, but I guess I get almost probably the sense of dawn of man. I guess even a lot of animals are the same way, where they will not destroy their own or kill their own just so they could have a meal. Yeah,
we'd rather do them away to undo themselves, right? Like throw them out into the wilderness and let them fend for themselves, get torn up by nature or something.
Or throw us in prison. You know, I mean, it's like we kind of do the same thing where there's like Penhurst. Like, because we couldn't handle, or a family couldn't handle their own child or whatnot, they threw him in and let someone else deal with them in a way.
Exactly. In this story, the way that he does away with him is by turning him into a wolf. And because, much like in the original story, the reason why this was such a big deal is because humans have a natural fear of wolves, because they come in, they could eat a village if they're traveling in a pack. They take away people's babies and shit like that. And he is now feared by humans, but still has his human brain. So once again, he's lost his main power, and that is communication. And as a king, that's fucking all he's got. His
Right.
servants do the rest, right? So it pretty much reduces him to a wildlife and tells him to go fuck himself. I thought it was pretty fucking...
That's enough to bring down a whole like society.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, I know even then, like, shoot, even nowadays, like, wolves can actually destroy a whole farm, you know, by eating their livestock and potentially ending a household.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard several things about that. I mean, nuisance animals and things like that. I mean, even when we talk about more action-like movies, like in The Grey, the wolves, the reason why Liam Neeson's
Don't need to
character
see
knows
that
about
movie.
it, he knows about these wolves, and that's the only way he can protect the people that are doing the job, is because they're actually technically on wolves' territory, and he's got to ward away these animals. So, I mean, even today, we still have a strong fear of these creatures.
Yeah, I hear a wolf, like, if I'm out there, out and about, I'm going to be scared to fucking death. Like,
Right.
I know I'm not going to be able to survive against a regular dog, let alone something that's usually like 2-3 times bigger than the average household dog.
And when we're talking about wolves in this story, like these are in heavily wooded areas, high up in mountains and shit like that. So when we're talking wolf, we're talking timber wolves. Like your dog doesn't stand a chance against this shit. This more looks like American Werewolf in London kind of size. Like not quite that big, but still huge.
Well, I think I remember seeing images off like a show that they're supposedly not extinct. I think they were supposed to be extinct for a little bit.
I thought they were on the edge of extinction. I didn't know they were extinct.
Well, I think that's like probably like the edge of extinction, like where they haven't seen them in a long time. And I think they showed a comparison of how big they are compared to I think they did it next to like a retriever or like a husky or something like that. And it is like 5 times its fucking
resembles
size.
more of a fucking horse, man. Fucking creepy.
man.
And the way that they can hide is so terrifying. I mean, it's understandable why humans still fear them and why back then they could easily just make it occur.
Yeah.
I mean, then in the next story is Norse mythology, where it's a little bit different. It feels like I wasn't able to get all the details on this one. It's almost like they made the wolf more of a tool rather than a curse, because in Norse mythology you pretty much try to summon the power of a bear or a wolf before you go into battle, because these animals stick to their goal until their last breath, and you hope for that kind of power.
Almost it goes to that whole spirit animal.
Yes,
type thing.
exactly. So in this story, the father-son-nephew dynamic, because there's inbreeding in all of these stories, Sigmund and Sinfjotli steal a pair of wolf hides from these wealthy travelers. Now, when they put on these hides, they turn into wolf-like appearance with long canine teeth and begin walking on all fours. They start by going through this forest area and destroying everything. I mean, they just ravage the whole fucking place. And then, when there's nothing left, they turn on each other. Yeah, tearing one another apart. So Sinfjotli is the only one that survives this attack. And when he finds out what he did, he takes these hides and he burns them to avoid from this happening ever again or falling into the wrong hands. If I got my hand on one of them pellets, I'd be having I feel like that'd be awesome. That'd just be too badass.
It's kind of weird. It's because I know a lot of people like they hate Rob Zombie's Halloween movies for the most part, because of one of the things is when Michael Myers puts on that mask, he becomes the killer, the Michael Myers type thing. Like he become the embodiment of the killer. So I doubt that Halloween has had that the influence from the werewolves, but I almost kind of want to link that.
Far-fetched. I mean, with Norse mythology, these guys would be considered berserkers and things of that nature, because they would put on these pelts to survive the harsh conditions, and they would also use it more like a spirit animal guidance. And then on top of that, knowing one of the fun things about these Vikings is when they went into battle, they were high as fuck on mushrooms, right? So they do these mushrooms because what's the one like in Mario, the red with the white spots, Miska Maria, whatever. whatever it's called, it actually makes you feel bigger than you actually are. So it makes you feel unstoppable, which is why these guys are going into battle, taking all these heavy blows, and then dying only at the end because they're coming down as a mortal would and fucking dying out there on the field.
God damn.
Like, so it wouldn't be far-fetched to think Rob Zombie might have taken a little bit of it, but he's deep in all kinds of
Zombie knows his shit.
Yeah.
Even then, I mean, I feel like that's even not so much with that, but I know that's kind of common when you have a lot of actors and stuff, like where in order to get inside the head of, or that mindset of the villain or whatever, they have to kind of, once they get that makeup on, they stare at themselves. I'm kind of curious if that's what it was. Like, all right, I have this spirit animal, I have this hide, and it's like,
this is the dangers of a method actor.
literally, I'm going to kill everyone.
Yeah, this is it.
I'm hopped up on shrooms.
Kane Hodder's all fucked up, man. Actually choking people on set. But that story was written in the late 13th century. I'm not so sure about when the Greek mythology was written, but obviously that's just as old, if not older. But it's just more proof that we just can't shake the power of the wolf. I mean, that is in absolutely everything that we love in here. And there's even a Rob Zombie song who, I mean, we all know fucking Rob Zombie's crazy into horror, but he also has older horror movies that you would think were just to the wayside, and he puts little snippets of those in his songs. So, I mean, still relevant to everything. And his movies or his songs are about killing, sex, parties.
Was it a Sex in a UFO or something like that?
Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
no, that's one thing. Like, I don't know if I should even bring it up right now because it's not even relevant. Because I mean, you could tell that he has a lot of love for horror movies, let alone the history of the horror movies. Because his most recent one right now is The Munsters.
Yeah,
love it or hate it, like it's an old beloved sitcom. And I mean, I know he didn't make a movie just to like say, fuck, I'm just going to make a movie. I'm going to do it poorly and shitty. No, like he did it with love and then well intent. Yeah.
Well, there are movies I feel like he should be making mostly because he already had tie-ins with some original ass stories. But I bet that it's tied up with rights and bullshit because, I mean, he's been involved with video games, movies. He used to scoop brains up on the side of the road. Young, he's been every fucking where, man.
Wasn't he a carny? I think, or like his parents or something like that.
I want to say he was a carny,
like him and his brother or something like that.
I remember something about hearing he was a carny, and I heard something about how he was a first responder. Him and Tom Savini shared a similar upbringing. I think Savini also, being a military vet, saw some shit. But I think what Rob Zombie actually had to do was scoop up people off the side of the road and shit like that. Like he was cleanup duty for that kind of stuff. So when he was making House of a Thousand Corpses and somebody's like, that doesn't actually look like a face that's been cut off, he's like, listen,
it does.
Trust me. yeah, it does.
I've done I've seen some fucked up shit.
Seen some shit. But I mean, he did what it would have taken to make it, I guess, a more believable thing because it'd probably be hard to staple on a face regardless.
Yeah. I'm going to go off on another rant. I'll let you continue.
Another one that I'd like to tell you about before we get a little bit more local is in India. These guys have a different outlook on it, and this is more like an animal mixing with human, but they're considered demons. They're called yakshas, and they were the closest thing to werewolves in Hindu mythology. They were believed to be guardian warriors of Kuber, who recruited them personally himself to guard his massive wealth. Yakshas are basically a class of demon who are caretakers of the natural treasures hidden in the earth and tree roots. So they take more like forest-like predator looks,
right,
to ward off evil and shit like that. And if you were having troubles with your crops or anything like that, these are the demons or gods you'd pray to, because not every religion sees demons as a bad thing, just more of a force of nature that, you know, sometimes gets
like it's
done.
All the perception. Oh God, I'm gonna butcher this saying, because I think it's in the Satanic Bible from Anton LaVey, where evil is pretty much in the presence of, or your perception, because you have a house cat, in the eyes of a rodent, the cat is evil, but as the owner of the cat is pretty much a god. Like, it's amazing because it's keeping the house clean and all that stuff. Cat doesn't change its form. It doesn't change who it is or what it is. It's just a perception of evil.
Yeah, exactly.
But I never really I would have never really thought that any of the old India, or Indian history would have been werewolf tied or had any of that lore. I don't know why I never would have thought of it.
It's not directly, and that's what surprised me, because it still wasn't directly wolf-like. But if you've ever played Street Fighter, you'll see characters like Blanca or Akuma, and that's what these guys are depicted looking like. They have various forms, but those two guys are kind of the direct tie-in to what this belief is.
That explains a lot. Like, he was like one of my favorite ones, just because he was kind of OP. Like, especially since I wasn't good at Street Fighter, I would just do his fucking shocking movement.
He's a bad motherfucker. Yeah, destroyer. But yeah, I had troubles finding some of these images of what it was supposed to look like, because it felt like you had ancient carving statues, and these would look like what's the god in The Exorcist? They kind of had that.
I was going to say Pazuzu, but I think
no, I think that's right. That's Pazuzu.
Because I know, isn't Pazuzu Futurama?
That's the name of the character in Futurama, but he named it after.
Was that correct?
Yes, Pazuzu.
You had one wish, master.
But yeah, the images that they have in carvings and stuff like that kind of look like that. But when you're looking at real life depictions, they are more like artist renderings and stuff. They take on more of a Akuma Blanca form. And even then, if you look back at other better kept art forms from back in the time, they definitely look like that. It was hard to depict this without making it look like you had a mask on. But when we got down to like animation stuff, yeah, Street Fighter had some werewolf-like creatures.
It kind of makes me want to pick up Street Fighter again and see, because I want to say that they had like the whole map of the world on where they originated from, and I don't remember where Blanca.
With some of the characters in there, it's hard not to think Indian culture, because you have some of the coolest, most powerful characters.
What was that one? That one Indian guy's name?
Hindu?
That stretches.
The stretches. Yeah. Yes, exactly what I mean. Like, some of the cooler characters on there, the more powerful characters, they definitely seem like they had that origin tied into it. So I wouldn't be surprised. But who knows? You're always wrong when you're doing research, right?
I'm kind of
finding something new.
Yeah, that's actually pretty awesome. I would have never thought, in all reality, that they would have based it off of a god or a demon or any of that sense. I would have thought they would have just created it and say, "Oh, this is what it is," but not actually based off of a mythology for the most part.
Yeah, yeah.
That's actually pretty bad.
I was kind of surprised about that one myself. And then that brings us to a little bit more of a relatable belief, which is the Native American belief. Well, I wouldn't say relatable, it's just a little bit more local.
Right.
Natives, their werewolves were mostly referred to as skinwalkers, because you could change your skin. But there is a particular kind of skinwalker that, from what I understand, you have to gain this power by doing unnatural dark things. So it was more of a witch kind of thing, and to become a skinwalker like in Antlers or something like that, we're talking like eating human flesh and stuff like that to gain your power. More of a dark magic kind of thing. But the way it was loosely described, from what I could tell, was this was more like a belief that changed between tribes and communities. So it was hard to pin down an exact way that they saw this, but it was more like a transformation to hide or to change or possess an animal to get it to do your bidding versus you having to do it. And it was a witch, like a shaman, like act. And that's why it feels like the first movie ever done was done off of this belief, which was done in 1913, a film called Werewolf, which was written by Henry Mackay. Maczays, Maczea. I think that's McVeigh. Yeah, Mac Ray. But either way, it was just called the Werewolf. It was a short film, very short, 18 minutes. Silent film era about a Navajo woman becoming a timber wolf. The plot goes, Kiani, a native woman, becomes a witch after mistakenly believing that her husband has abandoned her. She teaches these skills to her daughter, Watuma, who transforms into a timber wolf to carry out vengeance against the invading white settlers. And with this belief, it's the curse that every 100 years after the death of this woman, she returns from the dead to kill again. And that's what this story in particular was. It was one of the first movies that ever captured and depicted a werewolf, it being a gigantic timber wolf. That it's kind of cool. But this film was actually more about witchcraft, less about lycanthropy. But we'll never get to see it because it was destroyed in the fire of 1924. Another great piece of work just completely lost.
I can't remember if I said it like in a previous episode, but I really hate on how many movies that we've lost and are currently losing because of like digital rights or them not coming over to like actual physical media.
Yeah.
It's
a fucking shame. All of these stories, like you can tell with that story and the one from India, you can tell how we might have mixed and mashed together some different folklore, especially with Christianity already being a mix of so many other things, and made our own version of the werewolf and having an American werewolf in London, American werewolf in Paris, things like that. They get fucking crazy. So they change form a lot.
That's one thing that I think is kind of crazy. Like I've always been kind of interested in, because I'm pretty sure like we don't even have a history of it because it's impossible to know everything that went on in a historical time for the most part. But how different countries could have the same belief for the most part, like where you have over here in the North Americas where they had the whole like skinwalkers, werewolves. You know, I might be a little bit naive or whatever, but like I doubt that they had any influence from India or any other countries.
Right.
And it's just crazy on how they developed their own werewolf myth. I guess I could kind of see it on the whole like the Greek and India. I could kind of see how they could have probably passed down through stories, but it's just to me, it's just always been awesome on how, you know, different places could have the same belief but in a different story.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of cool too. So we've always believed in like witches and shapeshifters, but I enjoyed the fact that with the fact that, well, maybe not fact, but with the storytellings of werewolves these days, it's witches and werewolves can be either the same thing or something else. And the witches thing being a good thing versus bad thing clearly changes from nation to nation or whatever upbringing you have and stuff. So it kind of gives a variety to the origin or the depiction of the beast when you're sitting there making a movie. And I thought it was the only version of a biped wolf that I could see was in the Indian stories. And it was more like a demon with creature-like features versus, you know, straight up wolf man.
Guess also depending on like how close Street Fighter was with it. It was more chimpanzee bipedal than actual like,
Bonko's got a hunch, man. He's not exactly a biped. He's a knuckle-dragging monster. Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious if that's how...
It's something I wanted to do more looking into, but it's, I don't know, it feels like with some of it, they might have just been grabbing at straws and going, God, this is just going to look bad.
Right.
And I'm not mad at any of it because those two were my favorite characters to begin with, not just because they're beastly form, but their performance in the game was awesome. You got super strength and shit.
He just looks so badass. It looks fucking metal.
Yeah. But I have some suggestions we can go for, some books. One in particular that I absolutely love was Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones. And that one, it has absolutely zero tie-in to what Hollywood has done with the lore and stuff of the common werewolf.
Which I think is pretty good because you always kind of need a different story. And
yeah, it definitely hit the refresh button on what you'd follow for a movie like that.
I guess refresh is a great word for it, because if you were going into a new story, even if it's a book or another movie, it's always kind of nice to like, all right, what's the laws here? What's the story? What are the rules that they're going to be following? And, you know, like sometimes it kind of helps when they just like, you know, fuck the rules. Like, these aren't the rules anymore.
Yeah. So when he depicts the werewolves and the way they transform and stuff like that, he tries to make this more of the scientific following of what it would do. Like, naturally being a smaller human and turning into a bigger monster, you're going to burn more calories. So that's the kind of thing taken into consideration. The fact that you're tied in with human beings and stuff like that, like, where are you going to just develop a silver allergy? So they're like silver crosses, things like that. Throw that shit out the window. That doesn't matter. But chocolate is now a problem. So, you know, it was fun, and it was clearly written for a bit of a younger age bracket. But one thing Stephen Graham Jones has always been great at is the reading level carries on with the age of the main character. So if you're reading about a 16-year-old boy, he's writing and speaking like a 16-year-old boy. And as that child gets older, his writing it develops, and
like,
it's
matures.
crazy. Yes, it is. It's very fun. It makes every one of his books fun. But Mongrels is a great read.
That's great to know, because now I have to add chocolate to like my werewolf defensive kit.
Yes, absolutely.
Wolfsbane, silver crosses, and now chocolate.
Some fucking Girdelli up in there. And then a couple other werewolf books in particular is the 13th Coyote and Ballad of the Werevixens. Those are fun because I love splatter punk reads, and these are splatter western. So they are set in like early development of America, gunslinger kind of shit. Werewolves on horses kind of thing.
That would be a trip to freaking like even see an image of.
This is more like a gang of bandits. Their lead got bit by a werewolf, or
so they actually become outlaws and outcasts.
Yes. So you got a bunch of outlaw werewolves hunting down the town and shit. I thought it was that one was fun. I haven't gotten to Ballad of the Werevixens yet, but Christopher Trina, who is the author of this, is a fucking great writer, and he makes it a lot of fun to read. So.
I feel like Glenn Danzig should have made that movie instead of the vampire one he did.
Yeah,
or at least combine the two. That would have
could have probably read it. I haven't gotten to watch that one yet. That's one of the ones that I've been dying to watch. I just haven't had the time to sit there and focus on it. Hey man, sometimes a bad watch is still a funny one.
I should just leave that moan in there and just start doing more moans in the mic for people that are actually listening to it on their car.
Then there's The Werewolf, which is written in 1896. This one I haven't read, by Clemens Hausman. This is actually a favorite of H.P. Lovecraft. This is a book he would suggest that you read. Although he never wrote about werewolves, he slightly mentioned them quickly and briefly in his storytellings. But this was he apparently liked werewolves. Had quite a few suggestions of werewolves.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, just by what anyone knows about H.P. Lovecraft, like, it's, you know, you kind of have to take the art away from the artist.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, you know, some of their beliefs.
Good music's good music, even if the writer's an asshole.
Yeah, except Guns N' Roses. But no. But yeah, because I want to say, like, a lot of HP's movies, or books, I should say, which movies, where they actually had more of those myths and legends, or in everyday life for the most part. Like, it wasn't just like you had all these Leviathan type creatures. Like, it's just a weird, crazy world out there.
Well, I thought it was weird that his depictions feel a lot more like West Coast when he's writing about those. But he's actually he grew up and raised on the East Coast.
I was gonna say East.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, he's always been. I wish I'd have gotten to read a werewolf story.
It would have been pretty interesting.
But when we were talking about one of the other things I want to touch on, the mongrels, was control. So usually when you're bit by a wolf, you see a full moon, you turn into it. But one of the cool rules that he rewrites in this one is if you're born a werewolf, you have the ability to control it. You just have to teach yourself. But if you're a sorry son of a bitch that got bitten by it, good luck controlling
There's
it.
no control.
You usually end up killing yourself because you have no idea of what to do or how to control it. So, like, there are so many things that can go wrong when you're turning into a wolf. For instance, a funny rule that he had was, ladies, if you're wearing hose or anything like that, and you know you're about to transform, take them bad boys off, because when your skin grows and expands, you're going to have some of those hose left on. And when you go back down into human size, it's like it gets stuck in the hair follicles and shit like that. And it grafts with your skin. So he has some fun fucking crazy rules. It's like how to survive being a werewolf 101.
That's something like I would have never thought of, but it makes sense in a weird way.
He put a little bit of a biology into
Like actually
the efforts.
Forethought.
Yes. So there are so many things that can go wrong being a werewolf, and it makes you appreciate those badasses a little bit more, I guess. But yeah, if you're only reading one book, that one should be Mongrels. Yeah, but with all those other ones, I mean, all the other stories that I've told about, it feels like there's some of these movies, they're just not. It feels like some of them just don't pull from it. Like even the Wolfman, both Wolfmen. Like I'm a big fan of Lon Chaney, but the retelling of it felt like it was able to paint the picture a little bit better. Even though I like Lon Chaney's performance, I like to be fair, it was a different era, so they couldn't do too much about color and all that shit, but they got the capturing of the moment and all that stuff. But it felt like even then, some of the depictions, some of the makeup and stuff like that, you know,
like the transformations and all that stuff.
Yeah, you know, it felt like both of those, they just wasn't as cool as.
I gotta admit, those transformations, I want to say Wolfman, or it could have been, oh gosh, Abbott and Costello Meet the Monsters,
yeah,
or something like that. I think that was like one of the first movies that actually had the werewolf like change on screen.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean, like how it's done is like, all right, sit there, don't move, and they just slowly applied more appliances and more makeup.
Yeah, and it fades into
which is kind of like awesome effects.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, in my opinion, the number one thing that makes a good werewolf movie, other than your typical sex, blood, and violence, is the creativity behind the change itself and the overall final product of it. Because I felt like in The Howling, you had the change that was creepy. You had the story that was dark and gritty. And it felt like, I mean, at the time, it was an up-to-date story. And it still, when you saw the wolf on screen, it didn't feel like they had to show it real quick and go away because of all these flaws. It was just fucking creepy, and they wanted to linger on that fact and show you every detail.
Like how beautifully ugly and monstrous this creature was.
This is the pointy ears for me. There's something about the pointy ears and it being 7 feet fucking tall that just... Ugh. That one's one of my favorites. It's a tie between the Kessler Wolf and American Werewolf in London, and that one to being the creepiest ones for me, because the Kessler Wolf, I mean,
I know I'd be scared to death if I came across both of them, but I feel like I don't know which one I would be more scared of if I saw one in real life. If it was more the bipedal, like howling wolf, or the Kessel.
Well,
the Kessel would be like a little bit more. I feel like more unpredictable, but having something actually towering over you.
Yeah. And it felt like he knew what he was doing when he changed into it. The first time he changed into it, he's like, watch out, motherfucker. And then he just lingers over like, aren't you going to run? And he's just hunting her down. But I guess out of the reason why I'd choose The Howling as my favorite is because it was flawlessly executed from beginning to end. It showed you a play-by-play of a transformation. It felt like when it cut away, it didn't just progress in the growing of the werewolf. It cut away to show you her reaction and to go back to you watching from where you left off of the transformation. They put a lot of effort into it. And I feel like that transformation has to be my favorite of all time.
That's saying a lot too. Yeah.
I know that's
That's the thing. Like a lot of people I argue with, especially since both movies came out, I think around the same time, if not, I think within a year from each other, if I'm not mistaken. But the Kessel Wolf is usually always the best known as a best werewolf transformation because you kind of see everything happening in frame. Which I mean,
yeah, the growing of his hand and stuff like that,
the foot stretching.
His depiction of the pain.
I think that's the part that kind of got me more than The Howling was it looked painful. Like you could see the pain in his eyes compared to The Howling. The Howling, it was just like more pleasure than pain. With what I remember,
first off, the reason why in The Howling they depicted it like that is they had him on a kink status right out the gate. Like the first time she runs into the son of a bitch, it's in a porn theater, right? And that's how he like calls her in for a meeting. So I mean, this guy's already got a weird fucking. He comes off as a skeezy, kinky kind of fucking weirdo. But when they depict it, they had the cracking of the bones. You could hear blood flow and gushing going on, and then his eyes roll in the back of his fucking head, and the snout pops out. And to me, when the snout pops out, that was the coolest part to watch.
That is an awesome effect.
Yeah, like the growing of the teeth and all that. It was. I don't know. I feel like that's why I chose that one to be my favorite. But You're right. I feel like the acting in American Werewolf in London, as far as the transformation goes, was way better.
In all reality, there's like no wrong choice. Both movies are great. Even a transformation is a transformation at the end of the day, and whatever one grabs you the most, I mean.
Fair enough. I mean, that's true. It's
like I'm not trying to be like the extremely neutral on that end, but like it's. Both of them are freaking amazing.
Well, being honest, it felt like I could watch both those movies a billion times, but the one I could watch more often is American Werewolf in London because it does my favorite thing, and that adds a bit of comedy with the horror. And I can't get over his friend with that little fucking piece. I was like, dude, that is just slowly
oh man, just slowly rotting away each time you see them.
Decomposition each fucking showing. Yeah, it was so funny. They had good moments.
I think that's probably why I enjoyed that movie a lot more than The Howling, just because of the upfront humor it had in it.
Yeah, they definitely didn't play it down, even in times of like brutality and shit like that. Like his dead friend is poking fun at him, like, "Hey man, you owe me this, you bitch. You killed me." Like, all right, we're gonna linger that over my best friend's head. That's great. All the other movies that I have on suggestion, they fall close. Right, but they're just not as. It feels like they're just from a different time,
right?
Like because in the early 2000s on up, it feels like we tried to get away from making the set and kind of animated the set. I prefer a half-made, half-animated because you can blur the lines a little bit better and make it look more realistic.
Right.
But if you do too much of one or the other, like a fine example is in the remake of Wolfman, you never see the Wolfman's mouth move because they couldn't. The dentures and shit like that, it was a mouth open all the time. So when you see him, it's like like and then turns away, right? Like, and if you watch the remastered version, when he is chomping his jaws and shit like that and transforming, it's a lot of AI work.
Or the CG, like
yeah, the CG work. My bad. Either way, I mean, it still made it a good watch, but it didn't hit that nostalgic "we made this just to destroy it" vibe.
Right.
And that's what I liked about it. I don't remember The Wilding much, but I remember loving it. I don't remember seeing a transformation in that one.
I don't know if my stomach growled was on the mic or not. Which is kind of ironic because I think that her stomach was growling a lot of times during that one.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was really much of a transformation. I think there was, but nothing like really that stood out to me. That's a rare one because it feels like you got your fix without getting your normal high off of that kind of a movie. The Cursed, just watched the remastered version, the unrated version for the first time, and
it feels like they have more werewolf action, and it felt like what they were doing was the same thing they were doing with The Exorcist, waiting for the CGI to get a little bit better so that we can show these and make them a better part of the movie, versus it going, oh, you had me all the way up until the action scene, when it's supposed to be the part that sucks you in harder.
Right.
But that one's I like Cursed because it's once again a great combination of comedy and horror, and it's more comedy. It's more like the Scream, you know what I mean? I wasn't terrified in Scream, but I was not unentertained, right? Like, it was a great storyline, and having a werewolf flip you off is just fucking hilarious.
Honestly, that's what made me hunt down The Curse, because that meme was going around.
Yeah, liar.
It's the wolf. I know. I think that's like one of the things. Like, well, I guess nowadays, like if the budget if they actually had the budget to make the damn movie, use the CG for the movements of the werewolf for the most part. But when you actually get the close-ups, or like when it's actually doing like some action, have something real there for one for the actor to actually react to.
Right.
But feel more real. I mean, that's like what Jurassic Park. They had like real.
They had to build
props
animatronics to make that shit
and stuff. That's what makes it that much more real, because it was real. I feel like that would be the best way to kind of do a werewolf.
Yeah, unless you're gonna go full out slapstick, like Wolf Cop, which is also on the list. Wolf Cop 1 and 2. I prefer 1 more, but
I've only seen the first one.
It's just gritty fun.
I with me not remembering much of it, I know I loved it. Like, it was, I think like the biggest thing I remember, no pun intended, was exploding penis.
Yep.
But and he modified the cop car, and he was just, it was kind of badass. Like, it was more Wolfman than Werewolf.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah,
as well.
and he was able to keep his wits about him and kind of that kind of thing. So it felt like he was still the punk ass that he was before he turned into the beast, right? So it stayed fun throughout the whole thing.
And I need to rewatch that one.
There was something that movie brought me to that I forgot to do a little bit more research on. There's several kinds of werewolves, right? So, and I don't know where this folklore came from or how it came about. Like, you have your traditional werewolf style where you grow into and grow out of wolf form. But the particular kind that I've read about, and I don't know where this came from, is a possessed by Satan thing. And when you're this form of werewolf, you shed your human skin and it schlups off. Versus, it's like there's a werewolf underneath you and it just breaks away. And then when you turn back into human form, the hair goes back into you and all that stuff. And it's like every time you turn into a wolf, you're bursting out of your human body form. And that was like the most violent version of all of this I've ever heard.
I feel like I've seen a trailer of that movie, or I've seen that movie before, like where you, like the skin, it sheds like a snake. But like right now, I can't even think of or the name of the movie or any of that stuff.
I'm surprised that doesn't stick out to me more either, because I remember seeing something like that, and I don't know, it just
Mandela effect.
Yep, maybe. Yeah, they just erased that. No. The people can't see their shit. No. Yeah, that one, that style of werewolf is just super fucking gross and creepy to me, and
I feel that.
Yeah. And then a couple more. Werewolves Within. It's a great one. Doesn't have the craziest transformation scene, but it is, once again, it's hard not to put werewolves with a little bit of comedy, because that is, once again, a horror comedy. Whodunit more. And I really like when females are werewolves, I guess. That was just
that's also amazing.
Feature.
On top of, like, what, it's a T-Mobile girl?
Yeah. The AT&T.
AT&T.
Yeah.
So, for you guys that have a crush on the AT&T chick, she's in this movie and she is phenomenal.
Awesome. No, like
the movie is actually really good.
You'll notice
pretty good.
The guy that plays Guillermo in What We Do in the Shadows is up in there.
Yes.
There's, I can't remember the creepy dude's name, that the handsy motherfucker. But he was in Men in Black 3. He was the sales guy that took over.
Oh, all right. Yes,
He's always a weird stoner burnout type.
Like,
this is no exception.
the movie, it was based off a video game too.
Yeah, it was based off a video game.
And if
yes.
I'm not mistaken, the game was not highly acclaimed, and the movie was even less.
The game was bare bones. It felt like Among Us had more like action going on in it. This was almost more like a desktop Yu-Gi-Oh kind of game. It felt like it wasn't as, character building. I could be wrong about that, but when I looked into it, I'm like, I probably wouldn't play this fucking one. but it still made a phenomenal movie. So check that shit out. And then the last one I want to suggest as far as movies is Werewolves on Wheels. Not because of anything being too epic. I am a huge werewolf fan, and I am a fan of motorcycles. And this movie has both in it. But we're talking about a time frame where stuntmen were stuntmen. And the best part about this is 90% of this movie was actual bikers where they were like, hey, you guys want to ride on set and get paid for it? And these guys going, hell yeah. So there was probably like 4 or 5 different cast members that did things that you wouldn't ask a normal person to do, like, I don't know, light a guy on fire and send him off on a motorcycle. And other than that, it was normal people acting like normal assholes. I thought it was fun because it was an honest way to do a movie. Huh?
How are there not more movies like this, especially nowadays? I mean,
this one was, first of all, it came out on my birthday and on November 19th, but in 1976, 1975, something like that, you can hear a intro of it on Sick Bubblegum by Rob Zombie, where he goes, we all know how we're going to die. We're going to crash and burn. That's straight from this movie. And I like it because it's done. It was done on the fly. And I mean, as far as that making it just as much of a bad movie, it was a fun movie in my opinion. Because I felt like it was, if you came up to my friends and said, hey, you guys just want to ride, make money, and maybe make a movie out of it, I mean, yes, absolutely, that would be fun. Fuck yeah.
There is no no to that.
Yeah.
That's why are we not doing this right now?
Right. Right. So those were the movies. I got a few video games, a couple comics. The Howling, that's a comic that wasn't as long-lived, but it took part right after the first Howling did, and followed the Gypsy Witch, followed her around and saw where she went next.
So this is based off of the movie The Howling.
Yeah, it didn't get to finish its storyline at all, but it still kept the vibe pretty well. Then there's there's Moonshine. This one's fun. It's a bit of a short. I want to say it's graphic novels about this big, and there's probably 6, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 of these stories to finish it. It's a Prohibition-era thriller telling the story of Lou Perillo, a city-slick gangster sent from New York to Appalachia to track down a new supplier of illicit booze. But what Lou unwittingly discovers is a supernatural secret that must never be seen by the light of day or full moon. And that story was kind of, no, I wouldn't say turning it on its head, but it was a new era to see that story told in.
I know that. I guess that's like, I would have never thought about it being a werewolf movie or a comic until that last line, or full moon. But when you think like, oh, Moonshine and full moon, I'm like, oh, all right, there's a play on words.
They played with that. I thought it was good. Then there's Pharaohs, and that one's just fucking brutal, and it was just fun. It's, I want to say, only 3 comics. It didn't take off. It was a horror comic kind of setting with all of it, and it's common day, just a gritty werewolf story. And horror comics don't seem to be as sought after as one would think. Like,
no, unfortunately,
Creepshow and shit like that. Like, don't get me wrong, people love those, but they stick to that. They don't go off into the horror genre.
Well,
for
that,
horror
and
comics.
Unfortunately, they're not big. They're not really well known. Well, they're well known within this community.
Yeah,
but like when I worked at a comic shop for, I think it was a little bit over a year, there were very, very few people that would buy anything horror related. Honestly, I think there was probably only 1, maybe 2 customers that would buy any of the horror action figures that we had there. And we did occasionally get some of the horror comics, but some of them, they were special requests. Like, as big and as awesome as the horror community is out there, we are not, like, ever so prevalent. Like
we're not number one.
No.
That's for sure. No, it's clearly fucking superheroes who I'm honestly a little bit sick of. But.
Which I mean, at least here. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are other comic shops like where they have that clientele, but at least the one I was at, like nothing wrong with that shop at all.
No,
it's just. You know, like
they got to make their money. They got a rent they got to pay too. So I mean,
I could probably count like 20 times when I've actually sold. And I'm not even counting. Was it a Zombie Tramp?
Oh, okay.
And stuff. But yeah, it was just. I wish there were more of us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's slowly growing. I kind of dig it being somewhat exclusive, but it's not like we're gatekeeping by any means.
No,
you
not
know?
anymore. I think a lot of the horror community was kind of gatekeeping.
It felt like
at least the critics were gatekeeping, like in the early 2000s, and they kind of fell off and came back again after like A24, like the whole elevated horror.
Yeah.
Like they started kind of coming back. Like, oh, you like slashers? Oh, you're one of them.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, what's wrong with it?
Absolutely.
You wouldn't be her if it wasn't for me.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I was a stepping stone, a necessary one, fucker. There were video games. Apparently not as many as I thought. I thought there would be a lot more. You know, you have Altered Beast, where in a level you're a werewolf, trying to you harness the power of a wolf, but in each level you harness the power of a new beast. But in the first one, the first level, you get to be a werewolf. And that's cool. But then you have Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood. And that game started off as more as a tabletop game, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, where the werewolves are the protectors of the forest and nature. So you're in this game, you can be in human form and connecting with your people, or you could be in wolf form sneaking around, or you can go Hulk out in werewolf form and fuck everything up. And that is really cool. It's fun to me because this game is actually depicting werewolves in a more positive manner, but not taking away the brutality of it all, which is what drew me
like
in
how
the
vicious
first
they
place.
actually are.
Yes. So, I mean, there's not too much customization or anything like that going on. If I remember correctly, Alien Weaponry, I think that's the name of the band, is actually the fucking open title song of the video game. So I mean,
So this is a recent video game.
this is a bit of a recent video game. Yeah, I want to say it came out with PS4, and it's not older than the PS4.
I didn't realize Alien Weaponry was that. They are still new. I mean, they're a New Zealand band
Yeah,
and stuff. Like they're
and this, I believe. Oh, hold on, before I get too taken away. This storyline takes place in the Hoh rainforest in Washington fucking state.
Right.
So I thought it was even cooler with that. But I want to say that it was a New Zealand company that made the game or some shit like that. And that might be why it got done like that. I want to say it might have been Canadian. I can't fucking remember. I remember reading about it going, good enough for me, werewolves, violence, sign me up. So I did that, and I wasn't disappointed with that storyline. That one was a lot of fun. It feels like if it had a better backing, it had better graphics, but it's had a bit of a puzzle thing going on with it because you're not always supposed to just rage out. You're supposed to sneak around as much as you can, but when you get caught, you can either choose to rage out, or if you get caught, you have to rage out.
It's like the whole Metal Gear Solid or like Tom Clancy, like Splinter Cell type stuff, where you could go up and start murdering people.
Yeah.
Or you could actually sneak around and do your job and try to be undetected.
Yeah, you're still supposed to sneak around and kind of like knock these guys out, but just because you knocked them out doesn't mean it's going to set off the alarm.
Right.
Because this fun, the company's name is Enron, and they are an oil digging company, and they are digging in the middle of the Hoh rainforest. They like kind of hit it on the nose with this one, and the people are fighting back against them, trying to shut down their oil plants and shit like that because they're just destroying nature around them without giving a fuck. So it made a good storyline. Then there's the Order of 1886. This is a game that I want Rob Zombie to make into a movie.
Hold on one second. Listen to Alien Weaponry. If you like old school metal, like I feel like they actually have more of a Sepultura. Oh my god, I could never.
Sepultura?
Yes,
Yes.
they have such like a roots vibe from them. Their roots are from the roots.
Yeah, you should definitely check that out. Yeah,
I wanted to touch back on that one.
Don't skimp on a solo either. Gotta appreciate that about a band.
Plus, they have a lot of the one of the songs they mostly sing in their Moi. I can't remember the native language of New Zealand, but they actually yeah, no, that song, one of those songs is actually what is in the title of that game. So I thought it was just a solid ass game. So yeah, check them out if you
Yes.
But sorry, go on with some zombie.
The Order of 1886. It is in the era of a new age, of course, where Nikola Tesla makes your weapons, and you are monster hunting because the resistance is trying to overthrow your people, and the resistance is a pack of werewolves. So you are pretty much hunting down werewolves, which kind of sucks. But the images, I want to say Rob Zombie directed the scenes in this movie. And he wasn't tied into the whole thing, but I feel like if he took this and tried to make it into an actual movie, this would be fun. This would be fantastic. I'd have the guy from what's it called? From The Matrix, the agent.
Oh, you're not talking the agent?
Yeah, the lead guy, the lead bad guy. He ain't dead. I don't think he's dead. I hope he's not dead.
I don't think he's.
But I'd have him play the main character, put a big old fucking mustache on him, and put him in the fucking lead role. He was also in Wolfman, the remake. He was the cop. He was the lead cop in that movie.
All right.
As a matter of fact.
That's how my mind was still on Agent.
But yeah, that one, the weapons in it are fun. I feel like with the way that we have redone Ghostbusters and things like that, with the way lightning bolts shoot out of weapons and shit like that, like they have that shit down, and making that in this game would be great, because a lot of the technology there is steampunk as fuck and very electric oriented and shit like that.
That would be pretty badass.
So they could have a lot of fun with that one. And then you have little notes. Skyrim, you can gather this, I want to say it's a moon ring or something like that, and as long as you're wearing this ring, every time the moon is full, you turn into a werewolf. You wake up somewhere random with no clothes on, but you
maybe you want to start playing Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim has that, and you can also be a vampire up in there. But those are like little side quests that you got to do in order to gain that, and you can get tired of it. There is definitely a downside to it, but you have to go through a process in order to lose that power, and it's just as painstaking as getting it in the first. But that one was a lot of fun. And then the Quarry. This one I don't want to give too much away on because I haven't played it all the way through, but it is werewolf based. And although you can pick your destiny and all that shit, you cannot avoid the fact that the werewolves are involved in this. And if you look up the cheats on this, you know how to take this in a certain direction. And that's the only way to cheat this, but you cannot avoid the wolf. So, The Quarry, I feel like it was an understated game because most people play video games to be involved with a video game, first-person shooters and bullshit like this. This is more like if you liked reading those R.L. Stine books where you flip to page 39 and sorry you died, and then you're like, no, go back to the page. Yes, exactly. This is a game a little bit more like that, but it's still a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. And I'm not
Black
usually
Mirror did an episode on that too on Netflix. Like we were able to actually choose your own destiny. I think that was like back when Netflix was trying to incorporate some of the video games on their service, but
right. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got on werewolves. I mean, for this time, I didn't even get into some of my favorite actors and things like that. Like Lon Chaney Jr. is God in my opinion, but there is a whole bunch that would have to go into him. And I'd like to save that for the next one.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this was more so just like the loose history of like
Very
werewolves
loose
have been
history.
around for a fucking while.
Yep, you can't kill them. You can't get rid of the folklore, man. And read Mongrels. Fucking read Mongrels. This is a good book. I feel like it's actually on, if you pay for Spotify Premium, you can listen to it for free on there. But
which you should have Spotify when you're listening to us.
yes,
Shameless plug.
But even if you just fucking want to have that book as a trophy when you're done listening to it for free on there, fucking, it's worth owning in my opinion.
Right.
And get it before it's turned into a movie because they're gonna rewrite shit. They do that all the time. So
Hopefully they do make it a movie, or at least a mini series or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like they should make it a mini series. I think as long as they don't like over childlike it, like even though the kids coming of age, it shouldn't be for kids. Like this is the writing of the book. It's very gritty.
Kind of like that whole like tween movie without the whole stupid tween romance, lovey-dovey bullshit.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to make the first one a PG-13 outset. Like this movie's gonna have to be rated R.
Oh, granted, I mean PG-13 nowadays movies
Yeah, they get pretty
are better. They are better than they were. But
with the once you read the book, like most of the fun in the book is first of all the rules, but mostly the way he depicts the actions and what happens. Like to have like he did this, the way he describes some of the injuries that can occur, to depict him like a special move in Mortal Kombat, like when you're watching on the screen, that would be fucking cool because you want to know what's going on and not just see somebody keel over and go, oh, stomach pain. You want to zoom in, X-ray, show what's happening, and then motherfucker dies on the table. Like yes, things like that.
Going back on video games, I think one of my favorite video games as a kid, I used to play as a werewolf.
Oh, yeah,
Rampage.
Oh, yeah, you were going with Rampage?
Yes.
Oh, mine was Killer Instinct. I chose Saberwolf.
I was
because he can do the spin and he has a mad combo setting.
I thought what's Basic Instinct? I know that's a movie.
Basic Instinct is a movie with Shannon, what's her face in it.
All right, so I think I know what game you're talking about because I think I actually own it. I just haven't seen
Killer
it.
Instinct. There's full right now it is an Xbox exclusive. You son of a bitch! I cannot get like the only reason I can play it right now is because they have Killer Instinct. I want to say 2 on Game Boy and shit like that. They have the Super Nintendo. So if you have the Switch, which I do, you can play it as one of their little extras that they give away. But they have the newer one on Xbox, and it's full gore's like this Wolverine kind of thing with laser.
Owning an Xbox is better than PlayStation.
Yeah, it's rare. Fuck them.
No, PlayStation has quite a few games I do want to play.
Xbox has all the good throwbacks though that they made exclusive for them. To be fair, that's what they were signed with though. Like
they're just trying to make the Xbox good, and they're doing an adequate job.
Yeah, they're working on it. Not mad at that.
No, games are becoming more multi-platform, which is good.
I'll get one eventually.
But you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
One's over-glorified. I don't know why the hell my Xbox is on right now.
But yeah, I feel like those are the basics as far as werewolves and things like that. After this, I feel like on the next one we can touch into the modern lore, how some of it's changing and some of it's is what it is. Why silver's a problem.
I know, I'm actually kind of curious
like
on
that.
when and why silver was a thing.
I want to know why too, and I feel like it has something to do with other history, but to be fair, if I stabbed you with silver, you'd fucking die too. So I feel like
I'm borderline a Helsinki vampire. No silver. Dipping in some garlic butter, then maybe. I mean,
but yeah, that's all we got.
All right, that's fascinating. That's actually really. I don't know. I'm kind of actually shocked. I'm still shocked that werewolves have had that history. To be honest.
Yeah. Well. That's it.
I guess. Next time, don't forget to subscribe. It actually helps us out. Give us a listen on YouTube, Spotify, iHeart. All that stuff's on our YouTube channel. Also follow us on Twitter because that's where I update when we have a new video coming out.
Oh, okay.
But I'm Curtis Gerhardt.
I'm Stephen Miller.
And we hope you horror a problem.